I think what happens in a lot of times we look at change, we look at it this big, it's hairy, it's ugly, it's not comfortable for most people. And it's because we're looking at it in the broadest and most macro sense. And really for change to be implemented, you can't implement change like that. It really you have to look at change in smaller consumable chunks. And what I think about that, when you break things down, you have the opportunity to experiment, try things on a smaller scale where it's not going to throw the whole project out of whack. You can implement fast. You can test to see, are you getting the results that you want? And then it's an iterative approach, right? You can make minor adjustments. So I don't look at failing fast as you throw out, the baby with the bathwater, kind of using that analogy. You don't just say, I failed, so I'm just going to go back to what I was doing. You look at it and say, oh, okay, this didn't work the way we anticipated. We hoped that was going to achieve this, and it's not. Then it's about designing what's the next iteration of that change going to be, how I make it so it's more effective. But if we don't experiment, we don't try new things, we don't put ourselves in an uncomfortable zone, and we don't put ourselves in a position to fail, I don't think we really are able to transform. And I will tell you that from my personal experience, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been a business owner in 22 businesses. And I've had some that failed and I've had some that have been very successful. But what I found is the best transformation happens when it didn't go quite right. And we had to adapt on the fly. That's when the best innovations happens, when I received the greatest ROI. And so that failing fast mechanism is about putting yourselves out there in that uncomfortable zone, trying things and being willing to adapt and change on the fly. It's not about discarding and going back to normal.
Tim,
we can talk a lot more about that, but that's the nutshell.
I'd like to add just a quick point there about failing fast. The key to it is getting up. Right?
Oh, yes.
The key to it is getting up. You're going to fall. You're going to scrape something up. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a little bloody. Wipe it off, get the rocks out, and keep moving. You can go and render first aid a little bit later.
Yeah, and you can control the risk. If you break things up in small enough chunks, you can control the risk, so it's not going to impact the business, the operations, or anything that's more serious than that. So you can control the risk.
Eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Laird, what would you say?
I agree with everything you're saying. It's the iterative process. And I think that what is necessary is when you look at a transformation is making sure you recognize it's not about the technology alone, it's about the process. And so taking the time to really examine, what does your existing process look like? Why is that process designed that way? And then look at the introduction of these new capabilities and plan out how that process will change or even be replaced ahead of time, because that's where the failures come. It's not the technology failed to work. The process and the technology are not aligned very well. And you try to, it's like, well, why are we doing this? Ask that question. Why are we doing that way? And that's where the failures occur. It's in the process, not so much the technology.
Yeah.
Great point, Laird.
Laird, we've been around a long time, so we can, and we've been in the hot seat of technology and the evolution of technology. One of the things that's happened when I started in this career, if you were going to look at two different applications, you had to do a serious bake-off in those applications. That would take many days. You're doing proof of concept, you're running for 30, 60, 90 days to find out whose solution had the best approach to what you're doing. And they were drastically different. Today, what I find is that if you looked at the top 3 or 4 or 5 vendors, they all do the same things in any technology vein. So it's not so much about the technology decision you're making, right? It's really about how you actually enable that technology to go into your environment. That's where it's going to fail. Do I do the right implementation? Do I set things up, with a more of a macro, higher level view first, then narrow it down? And we lose sight of that so much. It's in those softer areas where it fails. It's not the technology itself that fails.
Yeah. Just if anyone, I just want to remind everyone this is being recorded. So if you do have to jump, we will be sending it to everyone, but there's still a few great questions left if you can stay. So let's see, Michael, when it comes to transformation, besides cybersecurity, what areas are you planning to focus on moving forward? That's a great question.
We're going to do a lot more in the cloud space, for sure. The cloud offers some wonderful opportunities from a business continuity and disaster recovery perspective. And of course, all of these things coming to the fore, having endured cybersecurity threats. So the cloud is going to be very, 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 very important. And then a lot more activity in our business intelligence, our data space. And then a lot more automation of the technologies that we already have to improve efficiencies, create new opportunities for our employees to learn more about the technologies and to have input into what those new processes and procedures are going to look like. So it's going to be a lot more marrying of people and process and leveraging technology to automate those things that are going to bring us the biggest bangs for the buck that will help us and our bottom line.